Facebook people, ladies, it's Jaki Sabourin, and this is your Engaged at Any Age live coaching call. And I wanted to talk to you today about how to stop attracting emotionally unavailable men. And I hear this a lot. These men are emotionally unavailable, and it seems to be a big complaint with women, and I get it. In fact, I actually used to say that quite a bit in my own life and in my own experiences. I was constantly thinking that men are emotionally unavailable. And in fact, I wanted to share a little story with you because I think it's going to help make it more relatable to you. So I don't know if you've ever been ghosted or even know what that term means, but it means when the man disappears and he doesn't bother to let you know that he's left the relationship. And that can be really painful and of course leave you to feel like, he wasn't emotionally available. And so that happened to me. And so what happened was I was seeing somebody for a couple of months actually, and we were having a wonderful time, and I was really thinking that this could be something special, and we had spent the weekend together. And what happened was, after that weekend that I thought was pretty wonderful, I never heard from him again. And so that really stung. I mean, I was thinking, I cannot believe that I just got ghosted, that this guy just disappeared, because I just didn't see that coming. And I guess I was trying to draw my conclusions around him being emotionally unavailable. And why would anyone do that to another person? And so when I started to really examine what was really behind that, I did that by process of asking myself some questions. And so after I got out of that blaming him, I started to really look at a deeper connection to what I was doing and how I was showing up. And so I want you to ask yourself this question: what are the ways that I'm being unavailable in this relationship? So I want you to ask yourself the question is, what are the ways that you're being unavailable in your dating experience? And what beliefs are keeping you from fully committing to the process? So there's a lot of things that you can be doing that are really causing you to be emotionally unavailable. And when you're emotionally unavailable, you're not going to be connecting with these men because you're not available to make that connection. And for example, I have a client that is dating a really nice guy. She's been on about 6 dates with him, and she's has told me that she's going to stop seeing him because all he does is talk about himself. And she said he's a really good guy. He's very nice, but he literally goes on and on and on. And so I was listening to her, and she's complaining that he's not emotionally available because he's so preoccupied with his own story and what's going on in his life that he never asks her anything. And so I started to ask her, what patterns do you see repeating in this experience? And I asked her about her history, and she said, she went to share with me about her history, but here's the thing that she missed. I said, what's the common denominator in these previous relationships? And she started to go into the details, and I said, you're missing the point. The common denominator in the relationships is you. You're the consistent theme in the relationship, so I want you to look at what pattern is repeating itself in this relationship. And so she wanted to withdraw and stop dating him, and that's her coping mechanism. So instead of being able to address the fact that he was not listening to her, she's going to now withdraw. And so in that moment and in these relationships, she's the one who's being emotionally unavailable. And I would say they both are, right? But here's a golden opportunity. It's an opportunity for her to reverse that pattern, to stop the pattern and turn it around. And what that's going to require is for her to become emotionally available. She's going to have to be vulnerable and intimate in that moment with that man, emotionally speaking, and give him an opportunity to step up into being more emotionally available. And so I would encourage all of you to really take a hard look at, a deep look actually, at how you're showing up, and just really check in with the pattern that you have in your past. So here's what I told her to do. And so I told her, when he starts talking, And he's going on and on. I told her to lean forward, put your hand on his forearm, and just say his name over and over until he stops talking. So intervene and just lean in and say, are you open to hearing what I want to share? I've enjoyed hearing about what you've been talking about, but I'd like the opportunity to share a little bit. And then pause. So lean in, put your hand. So if a man's talking and he's going on and on, a part of that is nervousness. Part of that is that he isn't emotionally available, right? But you have this golden opportunity to create this emotional, intimate moment where he, at that moment, can step into it. And so you can lead the way, and you do that by holding a boundary around what it is that you want. So what she was doing is she was putting his needs before hers, and in an attempt to fill the need, she's going to withdraw. But that's what she's been doing all along, and that's getting her the same thing that she's been getting, which is no relationships, which is emotional unavailability. And so by her addressing it in that moment and by leaning in and saying, I love what you're saying, but I would really like the opportunity to share a little bit. Are you open to hearing what I have to say? And you do that again with the feather. Everything that I teach is about being very gentle about how you present things, because it's not what you say, it's how you're saying it and how it's being perceived that gets people to shut down. So if she was to be more assertive, he'd probably back up and stop telling her anything altogether, but you don't want that. You want him to just notice that he's going on this monologue and be able to, in that moment, stop and focus on what you have to say. And believe me, he will realize, and that's just like with anyone. If someone does that to you, in that moment, you're going to go, yes, of course, yes, I want to hear what you have to say. And inside he's going to be going, yeah, I was rambling. And so experience as a golden opportunity to address these unconscious patterns that are sabotaging you. And another big one is fear. It's all this fear. And here's a big fear that I had, and especially happens when you're single for a long time, is the fear of commitment or fear of being found out. And it's like, I realized looking back on that relationship that I had, I was the one that was emotionally unavailable. I had been watching the signs all along. He was sending me signs. He wasn't doing certain things that I wanted to do, but I was ignoring those because I was afraid that, one, I wouldn't meet anybody else, and two, that it was a little too intimate. I really wasn't ready for that, to be that intimate with someone. So I wasn't willing to address what he was doing and letting him know what my needs were, because I was too afraid to do that. And subsequently, what that did for him is it turned him off. I turned myself into a pretzel for him, and it wasn't attractive. And so he abandoned the relationship, and so I was the one who was emotionally unavailable, and so is he, because he didn't, ghosting me isn't very a mature thing to do, but it's certainly it's one way to solve the problem. And so what was coming up for me was I had all this fear around he's going to find out. So I know you may not be connecting to this in a conscious way, but sometimes we have a deep fear to be accepted, and we don't want anyone to see those deep fears. And so we have this protection in place that's things like all the good men are taken. These rational lies that we tell ourselves. So we're rationalizing rational lies that we tell ourselves to keep us safe, but to keep us stuck. Because looking at the truth of, I'm maybe not lovable or I'm not good enough is much harder to look at. And so it's really going deeper, getting behind what's really going on, looking at your pattern that's repeating in relationships, and looking at what belief or fear about the relationship that's keeping you stuck in a pattern. And looking at what you need to do and to believe in order to change this experience you're having, because experiences comes from your beliefs. So you have a belief, and then you create an experience that aligns with it. So in order for you to change the experience, you got to back up. You've got to examine your unconscious beliefs that are running this experience. And so for me, I had an unconscious belief that I wasn't good enough. And I had a lot of fear of being, I guess, when I really analyzed it and got in there and did this deep work that I've done, is I was afraid that someone would, I guess, discover that it was true, that I'm not good enough. But of course, when I went in and did that work and really looked at that, I was like, oh, I had to do that work to repair that relationship with myself. That was keeping me from being emotionally available. I had so much fear around someone seeing me and accepting me for who I was, because I hadn't accepted myself for who I was. So everything that I talk about is kind of interrelated, right? You've probably heard this before, so it's all connected. It all goes back to these approval and us hiding behind these patterns in an attempt to stay safe and to not be hurt. But in the process of staying safe and not being hurt, we're keeping out the love that we really long for. And I know that one of the biggest regrets that you'll ever have in life is to not have love in your life. And recognizing that you could be the problem, but in recognizing that you could be the problem, you also are the solution. And that's why this is so exciting for you to have this awareness, because healing accompanies awareness. And the more awareness that you bring to these patterns, to this emotional unavailability and skills, so that you can address it on a date across from this man and present it in a way that he can hear it, is going to help you rapidly change. You're going to start seeing a different type of man show up, because you've shifted. When you shift, others can shift. And it just takes recognizing, bringing awareness to it, and then using some different skills, having more boundaries around what it is that you want, and being able to articulate that to the man that you're sitting across from, but you're doing it in a way that invites more trust. So you're not going to hammer him with it, but you're like, you know what would make me really happy? I would just love it if we could have another appetizer. I'm starving tonight. You can ask for that. Or, you know what, I just don't really like salad. I actually feel like some pasta tonight. So just letting your needs be known, putting your needs above his, and then seeing if he will step up and meet that need. But you have to present it, and you have to present it in a way that it give him an opportunity. And so this goes back to energetically. If you think about when you're online and you're like, I'm not attracting any good men online, and you have to look at how you're showing up and how you're presenting it. When your profile talks all about yourself and all the things you've done and everything you want, it's kind of like a me story. And men you've got to look at it from a men's perspective. He sees that and he's like, he doesn't know where he's going to fit in your life, because you haven't really giving him a vision of what role he would play. And so it really starts with looking at your profile. Is it speaking to the man in a way that he's like, wow, I hear like she loves men and she's interested in making me a priority, making me her biggest fan. So you want to lead with what that looks like for him. And of course, adding in those pieces about yourself, but you do need to get his attention. So some of your profiles are showing up emotionally unavailable because it's all about you, and he doesn't really see where he fits into that. So really taking another look at how you're showing up, what you're saying in those emails and those instant messages that's causing some disconnect, and creating a little more intimacy. Go ahead and take some more risks, because the bigger the risk, the bigger the gain. Take more risks, emotionally speaking, so that you will have the experience of stepping out of that. And of course, it always helps to have support to do that. And you're going to be getting a lot of support from me, because I'm launching my next interview series. If you haven't signed up for that, I will place the link in the bottom of the email and the bottom of this video here on Facebook, so that you can access that, because we're going to be talking on a much deeper level about all these topics, about sabotaging, about the fears that are associated with dating, about the fear of commitment. That's a big one. You wouldn't think that when you go to get committed you would have all this fear, but so much fear comes up because you're really confronted with changing your life and merging your life with the man. And so all of these fear-based thinking is definitely going to surface so that you can heal it. But a lot of times what happens is it's so much fear surfaces that you actually push back and you sabotage it. So we're going to be diving into all of that in that interview series. So make sure you're signed up for that. And also, I love getting your questions and comments in the emails. A lot of you have been sending me a lot of emails and comments, and I would love to continue to get those so that I can answer these questions on here in these videos. And so, and I don't see any questions right now, so I'm going to go ahead and end the call. But it was so great to connect with all of you. Thank you so much for being here, and keep the questions coming because I'll follow up and answer on my Facebook page and in the emails you send me. So I hope you're having a fantastic day, and don't forget that life is so much better when you have love in it. Don't give up on your dreams. Never, never, ever give up on your dreams, because you know, love happens fast. One minute you're single, the next minute you're planning your honeymoon, your weekend retreat. And so you've got to be diligent. You have to be consistent, and you have to be deliberate in everything you do, and you have to be consistent with that so you can start to get some traction here, and you can start to shift, and things will start to show up in your life. So thank you for being here. Lots of love to you. Bye-bye.